I think FCN is a big family. Yeah, I would say that my childhood is, I would say it's not very common. I know things happened in life, but I think that mine was something that, I don't know if it was meant to be, but at the end of the day, I think that every step that I went through my childhood makes me the man I am today. And if I go back to that, I would say like my growing up in Ivory Coast, even though I don't remember a lot, because I left when I was only 17 months, because I got adopted then from my Swiss mother, from my Ivorian mother in Ivory Coast. You know, it's all a crazy story because I was meant to be born. She went to the hospital. She was quite young as well at the time. She got sent home. And when she got home, like, she started feeling like she had to deliver. And so she didn't have the time to go back to the hospital, and she delivered in the house. Like, and a friend came to help her. So just like already shows you that it could have been complication, and it could have been something happening because you're not in a place where everything is safe and controlled. You're not in a hospital, you're in a living room. So that's, first of all, was like when she told me that story, I was like, okay, that's a good start. That's a very good start to make it into life, you know. So, and then when, you know, I had that attraction with football already at a very young age. You know, I was like not even walking, that the ball was hitting me. I have another story when I went. You know, in Africa, they put you into the back, and when we go through like supermarkets, there will always be those balls lying around, and I will always take one, you know, like from the back, but she wouldn't see me because she's facing that way. I'm on her back. So every time when she goes to the till to pay, I had this ball, and so the woman would always ask her, "But do you take that ball as well?" So every time she was like, "Okay," you know, like not every time she did it, but sometimes she would pay for a ball. So, and then, like, as I said, I had this opportunity, let's say, that because of the difficulty of life maybe that you can have sometimes in Africa, my dad was with, it's a bit of a mixed-up story, but let's say that my dad was already with my adoptive mother at the time, but he knew from a very young age my mother. So once when he went back, he had me with her. And then what is crazy in that story is that even though they had a relationship, my adoptive mother said that she wanted to adopt me, you know. So that was a big gesture from someone that I didn't know, but that she was willing to give me a life in Europe, you know. So my dad saw it as an opportunity. He came and got me, and I came, I think it was in '88, I arrived in Geneva, in a cold Geneva. And from there, the value was, to be honest, I always had a great support from my parents. Even though they knew I was like crazy about football, they never pushed me or anything, they always supported me. I think that was as well the difference, you know, growing up. They always try to give the best out of them, even though they weren't together. I always had the best of them, you know, in a way. Like my dad was a very positive guy, he's still positive, but very sensitive about life, you know, very sensitive about taking care of his kids and trying the best for them, even though he didn't have the best life. But that was always his goal, to try and push us to be the best version of ourselves. And my mom was the same, but she was the one who had always that confidence in me. With anything that I was doing, she was always saying, he's gonna figure it out. Only at school, she was like, okay, he's not good at school, but it's not that I wasn't good at school, it's just that I was too focused about football that, you know, when you focus on something, you tend to lay other things on the side, you know. But of course, school was very important, and I always had my grades, but it wasn't the top grades or the thing that you say, okay, I'm going to become a doctor or whatever. It was just that I was focused on football, but she was always the one that when I had to go somewhere for football, she was like, I'm not worried. So I had that in me quite a young age, you know, that confidence in a way of my mom. And my dad was maybe on that side, the one who was more like cautious, you know. Growing up, that comes a bit later when I had to go to Arsenal. It was like the one who was like, okay, but wait, he's 16 years old. If he goes there and it doesn't work out, how is he going to come back? So he was asking all these questions. My mom was like, what? Let him go, that's his change, he will be fine and everything. So there you see the confrontation, but they were always at the end together. Is that, so when I got to Switzerland, like the football passion was so in me that I had to start to play somewhere. And my mom was working a full job, so she didn't have really a lot of time to pick me up and take me there and then, you know, all those kind of stuff. So I started to play actually with FC Champel. So that was a very small team, but it was like the thing to initiate myself into football, to see how good I was. And I was quite good. I was like very young and very talented, but the thing is that my mom couldn't take me to the training, so I had to stop. I was like, and I think I stopped for 1 year, 1 year and a half, not playing football, but still playing at school and playing with friends. But because of the job, she couldn't take me, and no one was there. My dad was working, so no one could actually take me to the training. So, and then one day, I remember going to my father's house, and this man who was working at the time at Étoile Carouge comes in, and he's sitting there, and he says, this kid cannot not be playing football. We have to find a solution, but Johan has to play football. And I was listening to him, and I was imagining to me, like, I swear, I remember that day when he was in front of me, and I remember him telling me, you need to come to Carouge. And I was like, in my head, I was dreaming of seeing my locker with my picture, and like, but you know, I was just a kid. But I was like, okay, I'm gonna get into that dressing room, I'm gonna have my name on it. I was like, you know, the big thing. But it wasn't like that. But it was just like, the dream was so big because in my room I had the posters of Patrick Vieira, Thierry Henry, those type of players, you know. And I was like, okay, that's maybe the start of my journey. So obviously I want to be playing football. I can't because I was working, but this guy is pushing for me to come back to football. So she was listening, and I think she changed her job to 80 at first. To 80, so I could go to some trainings, and I think that she hired as well some girls that could take me and bring me back home. So, and that's why I ended up in Étoile Carouge at the age of, 8 or 7, I'd say 7 or 8. Before joining Carouge, there was never a time where I doubted it, because the thing is that it was so into me. Like, every break at school we were playing football. Every time in the weekend I was playing football. My mom had to call me 100 times to go home. It was not like one time. She had to actually call me 100 times for me to come up. So for me, it was not even a question that at some point I would get back to it. I didn't know when, I didn't know how, because first of all, my mom was providing for me, you know, so I was just like a passenger. I could not take a decision at the time. You know, I was just a young kid, so the mom decided. And so the dad was never there. I just wanted to, I was just waiting for the occasion. I think the importance of the belief in my parents, as I said before, made me who I am. And I would not say that dictated my journey, but I would say that some aspect of it, for sure, made a big difference in the way that the journey went. Because, for example, as you said it, like when my mom decided to bring down the hours of work, obviously maybe she saw that, okay, I was passionate about something, and that was maybe sport was as well something that you share with people, so is as well an education into the game. So to respect people, to respect the time, to push yourself for a teammate, for a team, and to win together and to lose together. So there was all a psychological aspect that she thought about, and she said, I think that would be good for him. Without looking at the bigger picture if he's going to make it or not. But just, okay, he's a young kid who's got a background. It's not always been easy because I'm not his, let's say, biological mom, but he's my son. you know, like he's my son and I'm gonna give my best for him. So she took the hours down, and I would say that what I felt from that is first of all love, because I think that you cannot take that away. When someone puts himself second for someone else, that for me it proves you a lot of things. And she did that. She did that a lot of times, you know, in a way, because then she went down to 50, and then she was more able to take me home and just be around me, and to be around all the tournaments that I did as well with my dad. They were like, you know, I didn't see my dad that much in that period, but at every tournament or every game he was there. So I think the environment of a family is very, very important. And even though, as I said, they went together, I always felt they were supportive of any direction that I would take. If it would be, my mom saw me at so many different, I had too many talent for her. I was like, okay, I'm coming back with a cake. She would say, you're gonna become a baker. Sometimes I would play with her hair, you're gonna be a hairdresser. You know, like she was always playing with me on the things. But for my dad, it was sure, okay, I think you can be a football player, you know. But they were always supportive, and I think that gives you the base of having that confidence in life later, even though then when you're on your own it's a bit different, but when you have that thing and you come back to that at home, you're always safe. I think I would say there is a lot of things that I've learned, because the first thing that I've learned is that the human being can adapt to any situation. I think that's, for me, even though I was a young kid, I had to adapt to what was in front of me. You know, leaving my mom in Africa and being in Switzerland, I had to adapt. And I think that is something that maybe we tend to forget, but we have that capacity of adaptation to any situation, actually. I think we have that resource. And what I would say in that growing up is that I had 2 years where I went to Payerne, and that was the elite of football. Like, let's say they had, like, you know, Clairefontaine in France, where they have the best player coming in and trying to develop them. I went there for 2 years. And the first year, it was called Payerne. It was just like a pre-formation center. And we were 12 players for the first year. So imagine being 12 players with 2 coaches, just playing football, being better technically, tactically, the understanding of the game, the speed and everything. So that 2 years for me, I think they were maybe the turning point of the love was there, but then let's say that step that makes you a bit different, because you were the national team, of course, but those 2 years living away from home is what, not being with my mom anymore. Like, you know, I was there every week, and I'll go back home on a Friday to play the games on Saturday, and then back there on the Monday. That made a massive change in my life, because I had to be in a bubble. You know, I had to be in my zone and thinking, okay, is that really what you want to do? It starts now, actually, because you're not with your parents anymore. You're alone. You're with that family who's become a second family to me. But at the time when I was there, I didn't know that. I was there just to do my job as being a football player and go to school. But you come in a bubble where you ask yourself questions, you know, and I think that reflection sometimes you can only do it when you're alone. And that was the time when I had to reflect on what I really want to do. So I think that those 2 years for me, with the adaptation, were the biggest thing that I've learned until that point. So how the move to Arsenal happened, I mean, it's a crazy story again, because as I was growing up and I was playing good football in Switzerland and I was ahead of my years with the national team, a lot of agents were knocking on the door, you know. But my mom didn't want to know anything about it. Like, literally, she didn't want to know anything about it. I could have gone to France at an early age, she didn't want to. I could have gone somewhere, she didn't want to. There was no talking to my son or whatever. But one day, that guy called me, and he's like, okay, I've seen you play. You need to meet that agent. That is my agent today, Costa Bonato. You have to meet him. You need to meet him. And I think you have a good opportunity. So once again, my mom on the phone, she's like, not really having it, you know, very negative, but we end up going to that meeting. And then that's where I knew Arsenal was there at one of the games that we played with Carouge. I was playing with the under 15 at the time, but they followed me for a long time. So by that time the meeting takes place and the guy says, yeah, we might have, if you're interested, an offer from Arsenal. And in my head I'm thinking, okay, you know, like, cool, we need to keep it together. Let's see where it goes from, because my mom was like, but it's not ready, now I need to take time, and my dad is like, as well the same, you know. So that's how we started. At the end of the day, we managed to find a solution. We started to work together with Bonato Costa, and we went from there. But as I said, there were a lot of doubts then from my dad, thinking, okay, is he gonna make it? Like, he's only 16, like, where is he going? He should be home with us, you know? And mom was like, he's gonna figure it out. So I think that, for me, that is what showed me that, you know, I think no one can really tell you when you're ready. Sometimes you just have to take the step. You know, I think that I was 16. It could have gone wrong, but it went perfectly right. So sometimes you have to take this opportunity. And I think that getting there, having the chance to meet someone like Arsene Wenger, believing in the youth, giving the chance to the young player as well, because I think that's not always the case. And at the time it wasn't. You know, I think that being in such an environment where when you come in, you feel that pressure, you feel that there is other guys coming from England, from Brazil, from Italy, from Spain, who all want a spot in there. You know, they all want a spot in there, they all want to play. They all want to be the next Patrick Vieira, the next Dennis Bergkamp, you know, we all see it like that. But for me, I was very calm, because I remember a conversation that I had with Wenger prior joining, and he said to me, I think you have all that it takes to make a career in England. And I was playing that all the time in my head, because I was thinking, okay, this guy is a coach from that team, and he's saying to me, a young 16 years old, that's coming from Switzerland and coming from the background that I come, that I have a chance to make it here. So that was the motto. Like, from that day on, it was like, okay, he said he believes in you, so that means you have to believe in yourself. So we went there from there. And I think that having the chance to play with those guys, to train with those guys, makes you even better and gain confidence. And even when you see the other guys, you know, the English guys pushing for space, the Irish guys, you know, and you just have to like, at the time you're enjoying yourself, but then there is a goal. At sometimes at a time when you're younger, you don't really put yourself that goal, that target, because you're just doing it for fun. You're still doing it for fun, but then there is a bigger picture, because someone says to you, you see that pitch, Highbury, you could be playing there soon, if you keep on progressing. So then, that was the switch, and I think that as a young player there, that's where I understood, okay, that has a chance to become my job. You know, I have to respect everything that people tell me. I have to try and surpass myself in certain occasions, and I just try to be better and to progress, to be able to get to the dressing room at some point. I didn't speak English when I arrived there, so that was a big challenge, because I could only say yes and no when I didn't understand nothing. So, but what I would say, that for me, integration is the part of the journey. So, and a massive part. I always said it. For me, when you're a foreigner, or I mean you come somewhere and you want to integrate quickly, you have to do everything to learn the language. So that's what I did. I had to really try and dig in, like, to learn the language, speak with my teammates, and just like to get it quickly so I could be part of that thing. Because of course there were French players that I could speak to. I joined at the same time as Philippe Sanderos, a Swiss guy who, you know, we played in the same national team, so I could have stayed with him. There was a lot of other French guys, but just to tell you, when I arrived and then we were living in a Dix, like the family that gives you a house, I was with Philippe Sanderos, and it was easy. We knew each other, but we were always speaking French. So at some point, I decided to move, and I said, okay, you know what? We're cool, but I really need to speak the language, because he could already speak English, but I couldn't. So I said to him, you know what? I need to go to another family. And then I went to an Irish family, and that was like, let's say, the best decision I could have made, because I was forced to speak English. And then from down, it was easy, because in, let's say, 6 months I could speak like proper English. I think my challenges during that time, I didn't have many, because, as I said before, the time that I spent 2 years away from home, that already had put me in a bubble where I knew that I could spend some time alone. You know, so for example, we had, if I'm not taking myself in that circumstances, but some people went, for example, with me in Bayern, but they couldn't be that far away from their family. So that's a factor that sometimes is heavier than anything else. When you're so attached that it goes over the dream maybe, or over what you really want to do, sometimes that can be a challenge for some people. But luckily I didn't have that, because I was already in my bubble. And I think that helped. That helped so much, because then the challenges are less important, if I can say that like that, because I think that I knew that there were going to be challenges. I knew that I had to perform. I knew that I needed to be good at every training session, and I knew that I needed to progress. But for me, I didn't see any challenges, because I had the support of everyone. I don't know if it was because the way I behaved myself, or the way everything went so smoothly. You know, the only challenge that I would say is that maybe when they changed my position to a midfielder to a centre back, that's maybe the only challenge that I've seen growing up, apart from the language. But that was on my part. I wanted to be integrated very quickly, so I had to do it, and I took a lot of joy doing it. And apart from that, what was it? Maybe, as I said before, the reflection. But I already had that, so that means that the reflection was so easier for me to just, in the same procedures that I had, to ask myself questions to how become a better player, and to how enjoy myself as well outside of football. So I think, yeah, I would say the challenges was the main at the time, maybe, if there was any, was when I had to adapt a position. The relationship with myself, I think that's what made all the difference in a way, because if we go a bit deeper into that, is that, for example, just a relationship. That means that at some point of life, you get the support of someone that you will never forget. Don't get me wrong, you will never forget what a mom support or dad support is. But when you detach yourself from something, it tends to be a bit more, let's say, egocentric, but not in a bad way, because now you're not a kid anymore and you have to do it for you. But it's why when you achieve something, it becomes global. It becomes for everyone else that is surrounding you. And I think that for me, what was the, let's say, the challenge to get to know that what I needed and what I didn't need is the when I left. So when I went into my bubble, it was even maybe difficult for my mom at some point, because I wasn't so, let's say, I didn't show maybe that much intention at some point, because I was so focused on something that was being a football player. So I detached myself from all of that, you know, and I love her from all my heart. But at some period of time, I was so detached that I was just thinking about, okay, now it's me, you know, and no one else. And that's where I think, starting with Bayern and then going to Arsenal, that's where I had to be with myself and understanding what I needed, how I needed it, and and how much I needed it. You know, I think that's like the most important thing for me, is to understand how can I deal with that and how long. Because you're not here just for 1 year, maybe you're here for 10 years, and that's what I end up to be. But I had to be prepared. And I think that detaching myself, with all due respect, you know, there is no hate or anything, but just to be able to say, okay, you know what, I'm going my way, because that's the path I want to take. I think that was the best way I could have done it. I mean, the challenges or maybe the experience that I faces, I will say that Arsenal is a special place. And when you do 10 years there, you know that what's going to come after that is always going to be more difficult in a way, because they took care of everything. You know, you're there for 10 years, so you know your way around. You play Champions League every day. You challenge for titles every year. So, I mean, there was that environment of that massive club, and it was still developing, you know. So then there's a question where you come to an age, for example, I was 26, where you're thinking, okay, now I need to do a bit more for myself. And I'm a guy that needs to challenge himself, you know. At the end, I was playing a bit of out of position, and even though I played the great year before that in the position I was playing, and I just thought, you know what, let me explore and see a different league and see how it goes. So I had a short spell in Hanover in Germany. That went very well, and that helped the move to Hamburg. But that's where I would say that move, without me knowing exactly what I knew what the club represented. Massive history, big club in Germany, Bundesliga, unbelievable. But I don't know the state of the club, the inside, you know. So you get there, you're quite happy because you make a move, you sign for 4 years. You know, playing football is a dream, and it always has been. So anywhere you're playing, you know, it's great. But that's where I'm starting to see maybe the less beautiful face of football, where obviously the pressure, because you play against relegation most of the time. So you need to dig really, really deep, emotionally, mentally, was very, very draining. And as well, just the state of the club, and maybe some people face it as well, where you rather put yourself first than the team, or you rather be obviously in that period of time be only oriented in result oriented and not development, you know. So there were so many aspects in that time that I didn't like it and wasn't fitting with who I was. And I think that's where as well a switch in my personality became, because I was really confident, but speaking my mind was always a problem, because I thought that if you're older than me, you should know better, you know. So I had my idea, but I would never confront, for example, Wenger, because I thought he was right, you know, all the time. Until one time when I didn't agree and we had a conversation. But for me, it was not natural to do that. I couldn't really, because I thought, okay, you know, I'm doing my job and that's the most important thing. But one day, something struck me like big time. And I wasn't having it at all, you know. But like, it's not that it was only against me, it was against the team that I was captain of. And I just think that sometimes, like, the personality or what you represent or what you're going for is bigger than anything, and even bigger than football. And I was willing to go and speak my mind to the coach, even if I lost the armband, captain armband or whatever. For me, I didn't care. But I had to speak to him and tell him what it was, you know. And that's where the switch of personality became, because that's where I understood that if you don't speak your mind, even though I'm not criticizing or being, let's say, disrespectful, I just want to have a conversation. And if you're not willing to have it, that's your problem. But I'm willing to have it to try and figure out the problem. And that's how I grew up from that. that's where I would say that the biggest impact in my life and in my personality was there. To be able to just speak my mind with all due respect all the time, but when something is not right to me, I will ask questions. Yeah, I think after that realization, everything, let's say that I won't say that everything has changed because I had a big personality already. But I think that obviously being in an environment where everything is done for you and the philosophy is the same as you have is always easier. But as I said before, I was ready for that because I knew that it would be difficult to find a place like that. That was home. Arsenal was home. You know, the people there was home. I could talk to them. There was no problem. But what's really struck me is that, and that's not even a judgment. I'm not even doing judging because I think everyone has the right to have his own personality. But at the same time, I would say, now I understand it, but at the time I didn't understand why would you not speak your mind? Even though if you are the boss of the team or the coach or whatever your role is, if you have something on your mind that you maybe don't like it or see in a different way, why would you not just speak your mind to that person related, you know? And not then just do all those media stuff that goes around nowadays. I think that a proper discussions of what, because we all men at the end of the day. And that is the same with women. They should have the same right to anyone else, you know? And I think that in today's world, we think that because you're the boss or because you're the captain of the thing or because you up there, you have the right to do anything. But I don't see it that way. And I've never seen it that way, you know, because that's how I've seen my parents, how they brought me up, that they could be a nurse, they could be anything else. We all have to be respected. And I felt disrespected in that point. So that's why when I really feel that something is not right, we need to address it. And it's not even a war. You know, it's not a war. It's just to address it, to see, maybe you have a different point of view of mine. But it doesn't mean that I don't respect it, but we can speak about it, you know. And that's really the time where really, like, my perception and my vision opened wide because I thought that, okay, now is where I grew up and I know what I really want. And what I really want, of course, is playing football, but be respected but for the man I am. You know, I never cheated anyone on the pitch or cheated a coach or whatever, never. Like, I've been appointed captain at the time for those values that I had. Because even though at the time in Germany, it's the team that decided who was the captain. It's not the coach who give it to you. It's the team who votes and says, okay, you're going to be the captain of the team. So for me, it was a massive honor. But to see then how someone else wants to put himself first because you know how it is. There is fire here, you want to divert that fire somewhere else, you know? And that's where I really understood and I think I grew up for those kind of situations. Let's say after Germany, I had enough. But not enough of football, enough of the people. Enough of the way, like, I thought people, like, football was turning, you know? Being so egocentric, goal-oriented, and not care about the value of the person. And I wanted to change environment, seriously. I was like, okay, you know what? I'm at that age now. I just want to change, like drastically something. I want to go somewhere else, you know? And like I could have signed 4 years in Montpellier at the time, but they saw something that then they wanted to reduce the thing, and we said, okay, you know what? I had an operation in my knee, of course. That's not like something that I can hide because I lost 1 year in England because of that. So they saw that on the scan and they were like, 4 years is a bit risky, you know? So I was like, that's fine. But then there were all those kind of things, the guy with Hamburg, and then that, when I knew I was in form, but you know, they're saying differently and I totally respect that. But it's just that, okay, I thought, you know what, let's change. Just do something else. So that's why I decided Turkey. There were so many aspects in life that, you know, taken the risk to take a break as well after some point in my career, to say, okay, you know what, I have this pain, I need to clean it up without having a contract or whatever. I think at some point and at some age it's courageous because you don't know what's going to be next. And but one thing is for sure, I'm a guy who drives all the time. Like, I've been working like so hard to be fit and to be, and that is something as well that I got. Maybe I would say that I would rather have it younger than later, to have that drive of taking care of my body and just to be able to be fit. And the opportunity came with FC Nordsjælland that I think that a personality or personality is bigger than anything. I think that there is things that are bigger than football. And you have some relationship in life that leads to other things, you know. And it depends how you treat people. You know, it's like, for example, if I was to treating you bad, you would never recommend me to someone else because you think, he did treat me bad, so that was never going to happen. I would never help that guy. Even though maybe I have all the ingredients, all the quality of the world, but maybe that day that I did something bad to you, you would say, you know what, he doesn't deserve it. Even though if I would, or maybe you the contrary, and would say, you know what, no, even though he did that to me, I will still recommend him to him. And that, you have some people like that. And I had the chance to have some relationship that I created with people that have just been amazing from the get-go. And so I'm talking about Kweku Mensah that I met in London, I mean, like long time ago. And we've been growing ever since. You know, we've been doing media work together, we've been doing family stuff together. And he talked to me about FC Nordsjælland, and he told me, you should come and see it. You should come and see it, because, you know, I think you will like it. And I'm like, you know, I trust this guy because he's like a big brother to me. So when I arrived there, I didn't expect much in a way of, not expecting much in a way of, okay, I'm here to play football, let's see how it goes, you know. And I wanted to, because I was back with my old team at Wakarush, I wanted to elevate the level a notch. But when I arrived there, I was blown away. I can't lie. I was like, first of all that is in place for the players, the way they behave themselves, the way the people around the club and in the club behave themselves, the way I've been trained, remind me so much of Arsenal. There were so many tick in the boxes that I was like, I'm liking that. And what I would say as well is that, you know, when you have a fire in you, sometimes that fire tends to be higher and sometimes lower, depending on the state that you are. And I would say that my fire for football has always been high, at the highest level. But as you go old, it tends maybe to down a little bit, because you have some experiences, then you have some doubts, everything comes to place. And from the first training here, the fire went to the max again. And I was feeling, wow, this place is special, you know? Talking to Fleming, talking to Tom, with the Right to Dream project and everything that goes around. I was like, I think there is a perfect match in life. But that comes from someone that I knew. And not because I knew Tom before, or because I played against FC Nordsjælland and they say, okay, we want to get him. It was more like because he believed in me. And he said, you know what, we might have something there. And then speaking to Tom leads to something different. But of course, you need to have something first. So apart from the quality of a football player, you need to have something that you can bring to the table. And as I said, for me, it's the perfect match. Because you can, as well, what is important to say is that I could have gone anywhere else. You could have go like you're 33, you're thinking, okay, let me go to maybe a sunny location, you know, just to end up and be easy and chill. But that's not my mentality, you know. I wanted to be that, to have that challenge where you can actually exchange with people, and the people that have the same philosophy or goes to the same direction. I think the boxes were ticked so easily because there were so many aspects regarding my personality that was elevated here, you know. I think that if I start with the non-football stuff, I think that, for example, having, let's say, a very exploring mind, you know, I'm very attached to everything that is psychological. I think it plays a big part in everyone's life. And when I'm talking everyone's life is that anyone who breathes, you know. And the thing is that obviously with football or with sports or with people who are more exposed, it can take a hit because people judge very easy, people criticize very easy, and that's something that I'm very attached to. The emotional aspect, the reaction, you know, the behaviors, and all that mental aspect for me is very, very important. And talking to Tom about that, and for him was such an important thing that I talked to him about it, because he was talking to me about other stuff, but I've said to him, for me, what makes a difference is the mental health. It makes a massive difference. People don't maybe realize it, because when you're with yourself, you're the only one who really knows how you feel. No one outside can really tell you, unless you tell them. But we have that tendency to say, okay, I'm not going to expose myself to the outside world to say that I'm not well. But for me, that's a big mistake. Because I think we should share and say, you know what? I'm not well. If you could help me, that'd be great. But we know that today I'm not well. How is weak? You know, it's most of the time interpreted like that. And that's all those kind of things that I've learned and I'm trying to master. And talking with Tom was like, that's something that really touched me, you know. That's like really what we want to teach the young guys. And we have this Pipa who works as a psychological coach or whatever she does here with the team, and he was like, you guys need to meet, you know. So there was so many aspects, you know, out of football, but the mental health for me was something is key, because even though, as you said before, maybe I become a coach or I become something else after, but that's something that I want to master, to understand my players and to give them the best possibility to be at their best, you know, with the discussions, with maybe more time for themselves, with the adaptation of so many things, but the individual, because that's the one who will bring me results or bring me a stability in my team, but not the one who's like his head down and just having troubles and not talking about it because he's not feeling well. So, you know, all those aspects were like, man, this is my personality and I love it, you know. And then on top of that, the football, I mean, technically, the quickness of the things that we do in training, for me, was mind blowing. And so, yeah, as I said, the box were all ticked, because obviously then there's a big change of moving here and everything, but that's, for me, that's secondary to what first, because the dream goes on, you know. The dream goes on as for me now and for the perspective that I have later. I think FCN is a big family. You know, in a part of, let's see, how I've seen it, and I haven't been here long, but how everything is organized and the vibe around it. You know, I think the work ethic here is very high in the way of how precise we want to be, how to develop that aspect, if it's on the football or outside the pitch. You know, I think that the precision, that's what attracts me as well, is that you can always have say something, yeah, we want to do that and do that and do that, but there's not really nothing happening. But here I saw straight away that that was that, they were doing that, we're doing this and we're doing this. And I think that for me, and the perception maybe that I have later is just to, first of all, to get that inspiration, because I think this place is very inspirational. I think that another lot of people know that place, and that's what, for example, I had to give an interview the other day and they were asking me why FC Nordsjælland, but I said, the thing is that you guys, some people are not interested, you know? It's like, oh, this is where you should be, or this is what you do, and this is that. But they don't know that in some places, people with their models, with their ideas, are already ahead of a lot of things. But because, let's say, the Danish Superliga is not the Germany or the Premier League, you won't know about it. But what I know is that you guys sell players for fun, you know, so your model is working. And I think that, and there is no corruption of doing that and having to buy 10 players to be competitive. No, they're all coming from here, you know, and I think that that is the business model. And I think that's what really attracted me here, is that everything is so precise. You know, there is nothing left for just, let's say, okay, granted or luck or whatever. Everything is prepared. Of course, now you don't have any guarantee on anything. But what I'm saying is that the structure of FC and what was the difference on me coming here, definitely. What kind of player I am? So, I am, let's say, a leader, I would say. I'm someone that gives always 100%. I'm someone that loves the game of football, and I think that's what is well. I didn't have the chance to really do it in the last years, so I missed the game so much. And I think that at 33, you understand the game maybe differently, you know. So I'm just like waiting to unleash everything that I've learned, the power that I've gained, and you know, it's like in life and like in everyday life, you have no guarantee on how you're going to feel on the day. But what is for sure that I can give you is that my heart and my passion will always be there. So the player that I am, football is like, as I said, is about confidence. Sometimes you have players who are in the highest level of their confidence and they can do so many things, and at some point they have doubts and they are performing a bit less. So for me, right now I'm confident, and I hope to stay confident to show you the best football that I can bring here. I think the ambitions goes with them. If I say personal goals, first of all, like, it's like obviously to play as many games as possible. I think to be ready to compete at the highest level. And I think that if I say the more common goal is to all go in the same direction, but then once again I cannot tell you what direction it will be, because there is so many paths. But I think that if everyone is on the same line and has the same goal, I think that this team for me, or this organization of this club, has the tools and the quality to achieve anything. But for that, it's one step at a time. And I think that the first step is, first of all, to acclimate here with my teammates and with the people. And then, as I said, there is the potential here is here. So then it's to see how we all gel together and how we can go forward from there. I mean, women's football for me always been a part of my life, because when I went to Arsenal at the age of 16, there were already a woman playing, and I have to say I was very impressed with the way in England it was, I would not even say accepted, but how developed it was compared, for example, to Switzerland, where I've never seen, and it was not even normal to see maybe a girl play, you know, at the time. But yeah, for me it's always been in my let's say in my life, because as a young age I had a chance to see it, and it developed even more. You know, I have like so much respect for what it has been done for them now, you know, to be able to let's say it's not at the same level as men's football. That I don't know if it'll ever change. That's something that I always ask myself, because it's the same when I'm thinking, if I go into tennis, for example, when you see, or you go and see Nadal, or you go and see Serena, there's always more people watching the men's than the women. And that's a question that I don't know if we'll ever answer that, and I don't know if we need to answer it, but what is important is that they have the same rights. You know, I think that that's the most important for them, to express themselves the way the men do, the way to be paid as well at some point. But once again, that's the question of publicity, crowds, attendances, so everything comes into place. But what I love is that to see, like, for example, the last World Cup when the US won, to see how much people follow that and give respect to to them, in a way that they see it as the sport and not women against men, you know, and make a difference of the two different sports. It's the same sport with different people, different ethnic playing, but different sex, sorry, playing, but he has to gain the same respect. That's a very good question, but how African do I feel? You know, I think that my answer will be very clear and very, you'll understand that like that, because, for example, when I look at myself now at 33, but when I was that baby, and when I grew up, my mom will tend to say, I don't know if you would have made it in Africa. You know, that's something that she would say. And I was like, always questioning myself, but why would you say that? Because of the opportunity, because of the money, because of the, do they have that much options that maybe a football player can make it or someone else can make it? So obviously at some point she had a point, because it's true that maybe the installations and stuff like that is not the same as in Europe in terms of opportunity. But I always said to her, but look at the guys from Ivory Coast, like Kolo Touré, Manuel Eboué, who come the system of Guillou, who was like a little academy where they all came out and just played in big clubs in Europe. But you have to be good, and maybe then your chance at the time might have been totally different. That is true, I don't know, but that's the thing she would say. She would say, would you have made it in Africa? You know, and to answer to your questions, when you have a home that is providing you with food, education, love, and the thing that you love the most, football, I think you come into, let's say, an atmosphere and a pathway where you can actually get to your dream. So at the time I was maybe missing that. At the time we're missing a Right to Dream academy where you could dare and play against the best of any other countries. So I would say yes, at now in Africa, to know that the young players with talent have that chance. Obviously if they go through the things to make it easier for them, it's a great opportunity that we maybe didn't have at the time, because so many players will get lost by doing something else, because then as well comes the family issues. Sometimes in Africa you are pushed to be grown-ups in minutes, and then to be a football player is more like let's say, an inconvenient thing for the family. Why are you losing your time doing football that you should be working, bringing money to the family, but we don't see the long-term goal? So, yeah, to have now is just, to have this Right to Dream Academy is just, it's just amazing for the kids, definitely. I would say to you that for any places it's a huge value, because, as I said, apart from Arsenal, where you well taken care of, I don't see anywhere else. I don't see it, and for me, like obviously Switzerland, we've been in the World Cups, we've been in the European Championship, we've been doing all that, but I just feel that sometimes some players, maybe because they're not prepared mentally, as we were taking that point for example, they're just left alone. They're just left alone because they haven't been taken care of for a certain amount of time. At a young age, how to deal with that? How do you deal with that situation? There's going to be many different situations, but how you deal, first of all, with that one, you know? To know how to react with yourself, to understand yourself, to get to know each other. And I think that for me, and this is apart from the football, because I think the football then comes so much easier when up here is everything clear, you know. And I think that that model is something that I always wanted to do, because that's why when I was talking about the psychological aspect of the game, and even making my own academy is something that I wanted to do, is a dream of mine, because I've been through so much. I don't think that we all the same. I think we all different, but I think that we can always bring something to the younger generation that needs that help, that need that understanding, because to make it to a certain level, you can have all the talent that you want, but that won't be enough. That won't be enough. And I remember people telling me, you're very talented, but you need to be strong in the head. And it's true, because how many players have you seen that were so talented that you think this guy is better than, maybe not better than Ronaldo and Messi, but has the talent to be? But they never become, because at some point here something went wrong. And that is the way, either you make it or not, but even in your life that you do something aside, it will always help you to be able to reflect, you know, on yourself and be strong mentally. Even though doubts, insecurities are part of the life, but how can we deal with them to not affect us in our everyday life or in the sport or whatever you do? How do you bounce back from a mistake? How do you bounce back from a negative experience? And that is how you build young people to become themselves as well. And I think that is for me, in Switzerland, with the football and with that, is something that should happen, definitely. Nicholas Bender. You know what? I would say, what is Nicholas to me? Nicholas is the guy, when we arrived to Arsenal, or when he arrived, because he arrived 1 year later, I think, we were always together. So, what I'm telling you, that this guy is a brother to me. We've been doing so many stuff together that you don't want to know, you know? And we've been chilling around, like, in my little square bedroom that I had in my family at the time, playing PlayStation, listening to music, talking to each other. Nicholas was like that. We're always together, until the point where I left and then he left. But when we were young guys at Arsenal, Nicholas was like my brother, and we still talk, and he texts me when I arrived there to say that he was not far from here. So, you know, like, you know, people, like, sometimes they do funny stuff and that, but me and Nicholas been strong. When we were in Arsenal, we were like, really like brothers. Cool. So, no, that's my guy.